the webinar now. Hi, greetings to all our valued travel partners joining us today from India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and Philippines. We are delighted to have you with our today's webinar, which is Wild Australia, Rains and Whale Sharks. My name is Mayur. I'll be your host for today's session. Before we begin, a quick introduction to our team. With 40 plus team members across Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and Philippines, we collaborate across the regions to ensure seamless support, backed by the local knowledge and global reach. Just a few housekeeping rules. If you have any questions during the session, feel free to drop them in the chat box anytime. We will have a dedicated question and answer session towards the end where the selected questions will be answered live. And also, this session has been recorded, and the recording and the presentation slides will be shared with you after the webinar. We are honored to welcome the Tourism Australia back to our webinar today. Our team at Turtle Down Under will also be sharing some important next steps so we can encourage you to stay with us until the very end. To begin, it's my pleasure to welcome Maisha Mukaddam, and she is a business development manager at Tourism Australia. So, over to you, Maisha.
Thank you, Mayur. Very good afternoon to everybody present in this room. First of all, thank you, Turtle Down Under, for putting this together and making this initiative. And a bigger thank you to all the participants who have joined this webinar. I mean, of course, everybody's calendar is packed, and the fact that you have removed time to come on this platform, it means a lot. It talks about your commitment and passion for Australia. So, a big, big, big thank you for your support. And this webinar is actually one of the efforts that we are trying to put together to help work together how we can kind of, sell the dreams of the land down under and make it a great adventure for our guests. I say this because we all are looking at the trends very closely. We know Indian travel has gone up by 20% in the recent past. And who are these travelers? Basically, they are repeat travelers. They are travelers looking for experiences and they are high spend travelers, right? And what better than offering Australia? Why Australia? Because Australia has the benefit of offering you everything. You talk about the Great Barrier Reef, or you talk about self drives for honeymooners. You talk about experiences around food and wine for women special, for honeymooners, for senior citizens, milestone birthdays, celebrations. You talk about MICE infrastructure, you talk about iconic locations, and of course, to top it all, the love for cricket and a lot of nature and wildlife. This is just a snippet of everything that Australia has, but one of my team members, Ushma, who's an expert in the destination, is going to take you through a lot of more detailed insights on the destination. And we are very, very hopeful that this presentation, this webinar will kind of reinstate your confidence and help you storytell Australia better to your guests. Thank you once again, and over to Ushma.
Thank you so much, Maisha. And thank you, Mayur. A very good afternoon to everybody who's joined us today. And a special thanks to Turtle Down Under for giving us this opportunity. May I please request to put up the presentation? Amelia, are you sharing your screen? Yeah, next slide, please. Okay, to begin with, today's session is going to cover the unconventional part of Australia. I think most of us usually focus on the East Coast, which is your Sydney, Melbourne, Gold Coast, Cairns. Today, we are going a bit different and deep diving into regions like Western Australia, Northern Territory, South Australia, and Tasmania. But before we get to know these regions, I think it's very important to know, as Maisha mentioned, why Australia. So the reasons that she mentioned is how It's kind of summarized in this screen that we see right now. So right from all your interesting attractions to ancient and modern cultures coming together, unique wildlife. I think the locals are very warm and friendly. There's abundant of food and drinks that's available. There are vineyards, there's culinary tours and experiences that you can do. In terms of aquatic and coastal life, I think most of 90% of the population of Australia resides on the coast. So the sprawling coastline that we have is also one of the USPs that Australia kindly boasts about. In terms of safety and security, any of the activities that you do, I think utmost care is taken in terms of doing any activity, any adventure, soft adventure, or anything from skydiving to bungee jumping, or even doing something as simple as a zip lining activity. I think the safety and security is top notch when we talk about Australia. In terms of nature and landscape, I think from the iconic places like your Great Ocean Road to the Ningaloo Reef to the Wineglass Bay in Tasmania, there are places which really give you like a wow moment when you are in Australia. Next slide, please. So, how do you sell Australia in terms of a destination, which is a country and a continent in itself? So, one of the reasons we also speak about is how tourist visa nowadays can come up to with 3 years multiple entry. So, there is always an opportunity to get your travelers to come into Australia again before their visa expires. Also, people who travel to visit their friends and families, there's always scope for us to pitch them places beyond the usual Sydney, Melbourne that they go to visit their family and friends. So, cross selling and upselling opportunities in terms of a destination, it has lots to offer. And with the visa facility being multiple entry, 5 years for MICE travelers, business travelers, and 3 years for tourists, I think it's a great opportunity for people to go back to the country again. It's a destination which is huge, so you cannot cover the whole of it in your one trip. So I think the second one just adds on to the USP for a repeat and a seasoned traveler to go and visit the country again. Next. A little snippet of what it is getting, around in Australia, since it's humongous. First of all, it has two time zones. So on the west coast, it's 2.5 hours ahead of us. The east coast, currently due to summer, it's 5.5 hours away from us. So within Australia also, since they have two time zones, it's very important when a client goes into Australia and is taking a domestic flight. Just giving an example, if a person is flying from Perth into Brisbane, it's a good 5.5 hour flight, which is as good as going from here into Singapore. So if you're leaving Perth in the morning, you will actually reach Brisbane in the evening. So keeping in mind these different time zones and the flying times within the region, it's important to be sensitive towards clients who are doing different places in the itinerary, so as to what time they depart from a particular city and what time they arrive into a particular city. Jetstar, Virgin Australia, and Qantas have great connections within the country and the continent. So it's a fabulous way to actually, apart from self-drive and going via any other transportation, flying also makes it easier to go from one state to another. Next. In terms of getting around, self-drive is definitely a best option because the country is known for its self-drive. Some of the rules that we follow for hiring a car is you need to be of 21 or age of 21 and above. You need to have a valid driver license, which is in English. We drive on the same side as in India, so I think it's pretty easier. The road conditions are fabulous and the rides are very, very scenic. For example, if you have to travel from Adelaide into Perth, or if you have to go travel within the Northern Territory, or you travel in Tasmania from Hobart and Launceston to your Wineglass Bay, I think all of these places are very, very scenic and it's easy to drive around there in Australia. Apart from this, camper vans and off-road is something which is very typical to Australians, but depending on the client requirement, if there's somebody who's very well traveled and would want to explore something beyond the normal hiring of a car, these also work pretty well in Australia. Next. Also, there's coach travel and escorted to coach travels. I think Turtle Down Under would be the best people to brief you about this at the end of the presentation. But this is also one of the ways which you can travel internally within Australia. Next. So what are the type of accommodations we look at? Right from your all the brands of hotels which have presence in all the major cities. There's also farm stays, there are hostels, there are serviced apartments available as well with a full service kitchenette. You also have luxury lodges for your high-end client. So all the states have some presence of luxury lodge which is there. And these are very, very high-end. They get sold out also pretty quickly. So it's always advisable for clients to kind of book these luxury lodges way in advance. And again, with hotels, if it's season time, it's always advisable. Like, for example, during New Year's, if you're going to Sydney for the fireworks, always advisable to do your bookings way in advance, keeping in mind that accommodation gets sold out and also visas might take a bit of a time to come through. So in terms of accommodation, there's lots, and you can pick up as per your client's requirement and budget where they would want to stay. Next. Coming to the climate, so right now when we have our winters, Australia has its summertime going on. So it's peak summer time in Jan and Feb. As you see in the map, the top, the northern part, so basically where the climate is tropical, it tends to get a little warm in the months of Jan and Feb. From March onwards, it tends to get a bit cold as well. So right when we have our summers is the peak winter time for Australia. It's a fabulous time to go in our summertime in the months of May, June, July. For a simple reason, the weather is really good. Apart from this, the moderately the mostly temperate. So the southern part that you see, there are chances of you even spotting the southern lights. In Tasmania, during the winter time in Australia, chances of spotting southern lights also becomes high. Apart from this, even during our winter time when it's summer, if you have clients traveling in October, November, December, temperatures are very, very like it's not very hot, not very cold. In fact, it's quite pleasant. So you can do all your water activities during that time. Also, from May up till November, the migration of the whales and the orcas take place. So I think it's also a good time for you to kind of do a cruise where you can do the whale watching, whale spotting. You can do your dolphin watching tours as well. That is why we always say that Australia is one destination which has no restrictions when it comes to when you have to travel. Any time and any month of the year is a good time to travel to Australia. Next. Next. Sorry, next slide, please. So this is Australia in a nutshell. Basically, it has 6 states and 2 territories. The 2 territories are Northern Territory, Australian Capital Territory, which is home to Canberra. That's the capital city of Australia. And we have Western Australia, South Australia, Tasmania, Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria. What we will specifically be talking about today is Northern Territory, Western Australia, South Australia, and Tasmania. These are places which work very, very well for somebody who's traveling for the second time, someone who's a seasoned traveler and would want to explore things beyond the east coast of Australia. Next. So we start off with South Australia. So Adelaide is the capital city, and here's a small video on the destination.
Pushpa, you are on mute.
So sorry. So, as seen in the video, South Australia has lots to offer, right from your vineyards to going to the Kangaroo Island, to even doing a cruise on the Murray River. So, when we talk about South Australia, just a fun fact, the wine Jacobs Creek is produced in South Australia. So, most of the wine produce that happens in Australia, the maximum is in South Australia and Western Australia. So, they have a range of vineyards which you can actually explore either as day trips, or it could even be you can stay on a vineyard, go for a nice lunch, have a nice wine tasting, doing the farm to table experience, all of that. To give a snapshot of in terms of mapping, if you see where here Adelaide is the capital city, a little away from Adelaide is Barossa Valley. This is where Jacobs Creek is produced, and this is also the very famous vineyard that most of the clients who go to Adelaide would definitely do like a day trip or an overnight stay to the Barossa Valley. Apart from this, the small island that you see here is the very famous Kangaroo Island. Kangaroo Island, again, a fun fact, has more kangaroos than humans. So it's a big island. You can either take a ferry, you can keep your car in the ferry and take a ferry down to the Kangaroo Island. You can either take a flight to the Kangaroo Island, but definitely if you're going here, a 2 to 3 night stay is recommended. It has some fabulous properties here, but also a luxury lodge called the Southern Pacific Lodge. So even the Southern Ocean Lodge is located at the Kangaroo Island. Some of the very niche places in South Australia is Eyre Peninsula. So the little guy behind me that you see on my screen, you can actually spot them at the Eyre Peninsula and have a swim with them as well. Cooper Pedy is a very outback region of South Australia. Again, you can fly from Adelaide into the Cooper Pedy region. Flinders Range is absolutely amazing and known for stargazing. It's supposed to be having the most, like, the black sky that you see. So it's so black that the stars literally are, you feel as if, you're sleeping under a blanket of stars. So stargazing is very, very famous in Flinders Range. Apart from this, you can take a nice cruise at the Murray River. So these are some experiences that we talk about when we are talking about South Australia. We'll move on to the next slide, which will give you more insights into the different regions of South Australia. So Adelaide, as mentioned, is the capital city. What you see in the picture here is the very, very famous and historic, the Adelaide Oval Cricket Ground. So fun thing about here is also you can actually climb to the rooftop of this cricket ground. You can actually do a climb even when a match is going live. So I think for us Indians, if or any other person who's crazy about cricket, I think it works very, very well to do like a climb when you are on the rooftop, and the game is going live. It also has a hotel attached to it. So the Oval Hotel is right at the stadium. In fact, the breakfast venue of this hotel gives you a view of the entire stadium. So I think it's a very different experience. It's just about 15 to 20 minutes away from the CBD. So you're right in the heart of the city, but not very away as well, but living and staying, right inside the stadium. Apart from this, a lot of other places, you have Adelaide Hills, which is about 30 minutes away from the city. You have the Monarto Zoo, where you can do a safari. Monarto Zoo now also has accommodation. It's about 70 kilometers away from the city. You can either do a day trip with a safari, or you can stay there for a night. They also have the cage safari, wherein you are inside the cage and you have the lions roaming around you. So it's a massive zoo that they have built, but it has experiences which are really, really good. So if you have family or kids traveling, definitely do it as a day trip, or you can stay there as well. Apart from this, Adelaide Central Market is a known, sorry, I need to still speak. So apart from this, Adelaide Central Market is where you have all your shopping places. You can actually go there. There are restaurants and cafes. You can walk around at the entire market as well. Coming next to Kangaroo Island. So Kangaroo Island, as mentioned, you can either take a flight from King's Court, you can take a ferry from Penishaw, wherein you put if you're doing a self-drive, you can put your car inside the ferry and take the ferry as well. Or you can do a nice 2-hour drive to Cape Jervis. So multiple ways in which you can reach the Kangaroo Island. As mentioned, do give a minimum of 2 to 3 nights because it has lots to offer. One is you see kangaroos in abundance. You can do a trip to the remarkable rocks as well. You can also do a cruise to see the sea lions at the Seal Bay, which also happens from the Kangaroo Island. And again, it has a lot of vineyards and gin tasting places. So you can probably have a lunch experience at one of the vineyards where you do a nice wine tasting and then you can have fresh lunch as well, which is a farm to table experience. Barossa Valley, again, one of the most premier wine destinations, as mentioned. Again, here, this is about an hour away from Adelaide. You can do like a day trip over here where you start off from Adelaide, reach there, do a wine tasting, do a nice lunch, be in the vineyard, and then come back to Adelaide by evening. If you want, you can also do a night stay in which you can do like a nice cooking and a food pairing session at the Jacobs Creek. So they have these tours, like a half day experience that you do where you actually cook your own food and also you have the wine tasting that happens. So this can be either a half day tour or you can stay overnight at the Barossa Valley. Eyre Peninsula, as mentioned, is a little away from Adelaide, so you need to fly into Port Lincoln, which is your gateway into the peninsula. Over there, as you see in the picture, you can do a nice shark experience. So you are in this cage and you can see do a cage dive with these great white sharks and also swim with the tunas. Apart from this, it's also very famous for the giant cuttlefish. So they have tours from Flinders Island which takes you to see these giant cuttlefish also. And of course, since it's a very I think where you have a lot of fishing experiences, it's definitely a great way to enjoy some fresh seafood as well. And as mentioned, Adelaide Hills is about 30 minutes away from Adelaide. It also is home to Handorf, which is a nice German village that they have over there. It takes about half a day to do this entire tour, and you can be back into Adelaide by evening. So here again, it's scenic as you see in the picture. Basically, it's about a little away. So you are in the hill area. And whilst you're there, you can also visit the German settlement, which is called Handorf. Over here, they also have the Jolique farm. So Jolique is one of the skincare brands of Australia. They also do a nice tour. You can do a 1 hour tour wherein you get to see how the products are made, and then you can buy at their store as well. So Adelaide has lots to offer within the city, outside the city, and a little away from the city, you have your Barossa and Kangaroo. And if you still have time and more days, definitely you can fly down to Eyre Peninsula or Copepedy to get more experiences and soak into more of South Australian regions. Next. So this is a small view of all the accommodation that you have at Kangaroo Island. As mentioned, if you have any questions pertaining to any region, you can either put it in the chat box or we'll pick it up in the Q&A at the end of the webinar. So moving on, we move to another state, which is Western Australia. Surprisingly, and also a fun fact again, Western Australia is the biggest state of Australia. It occupies almost three-fourths of the land. So if you see even in the map, it's quite huge. It almost stretches up to the central Australia. It reaches up right up till north and even up till the south. So it's a humongous state, and I think it's a state which really has everything to offer at one go. Could we have the video, please? So again, map for a better view of how the state looks like. So you can see that there's so much in Western Australia. Most of it is on the coast. So we have Perth, which is the capital city of Western Australia, which is home to Elizabeth Key that we just saw in the video. A little away down south is your Busselton Jetty and Nilgi Caves. This is your Margaret River region, where it's very famous for vineyards and it produces some really good wines. When you come down here again, you have the Lucky Bay and the Esperance region, which is the whitest sand beach that we have. This is the Golden Outback. This is where you saw the camels in the video. So it's more like a desert area, which Western Australia is home to. When you move up a little north here is where you see the Ningaloo Reef. So Ningaloo Reef is a fringing reef, just like how you have the Great Barrier Reef in Queensland. Ningaloo Reef is also a reef, but it's fringing. So it's basically you see the corals at the edge of the ocean. You do not have to go like in the middle of the ocean or take a boat or something. You can actually see the corals right on the shore. So that's because it's called a fringing reef. Here, what you saw in the video is the gentle giant. So you can actually swim with them. What we saw in the video is it's absolutely safe. During season time, you can actually swim with these giants in the water as well. Next, please. So some of the very famous regions of Western Australia. First is Perth. So Perth is home and the capital city of Western Australia. As we saw that there is also the very famous stadium. The Optus Stadium is located within the Perth city. What you see here in the picture right opposite the stadium is the Mataguru Bridge. You can actually climb and zip line through this bridge. So it's a really good experience. And if you have someone going here, you should do the zip lining experience during twilight. Personally, for me, when I did this experience, I was kind of scared, but it's also very fun because you're harnessed very, very well, and it's a fabulous experience to do it at twilight, especially when the sun is setting and the stadium is completely lit. Apart from this, you also have a Segway tour. Again, from personal experience, the Segway tour is so good, so easy, and so much fun. It's a little, you need to learn how to operate the Segway first, but the 1 hour tour really takes you around the city. You start out from Perth and then you go into Kings Park, you take a full round of the city, and then you come back to the place where you started your Segway. It's about 1.5, 1 hour long, but I think it's really, really good to just move around the city on a Segway. A little away from Perth City, 60 minutes is you take a 40-minute ferry and you go into the Rottnest Island, which is home to the happiest animal called the quokka, which is a marsupial. You can do Rottnest Island as a day trip. It does not have many accommodation options, but it's definitely recommended as a day trip. You can leave in the morning from Perth and you're back into Perth by maybe 4 or 5 in the evening, depending on how much time you spend at the island. But if you're at Rottnest, definitely click a selfie with the quokkas. It's a must do, and you do not want to miss out on that experience. Another really fabulous place for a day trip is Fremantle. It's again a 40 minutes ride from Perth. You go into Fremantle, you visit the prison at Fremantle, which has a lot of convict history attached to it. You visit the Fremantle market, which is home to a lot of fresh produce, buying souvenirs, of Australia, again a day trip, and you can come back into Perth again in the evening. So at least again a 3 to 4 night accommodation into Perth is definitely recommended and suggested, because you have a lot of day trips that you can do from the city. You can also visit the Swan Valley, which is about half an hour away from the city. Again, here you have the vineyards. So you can do your wine tasting with a nice lunch and then come back into the city again. If you have time, you can definitely do the river cruise on the Swan Valley as well. Slightly away from Perth City, at a distance of about 2.5, 3 hours, are your pinnacles as well. So pinnacles are for limestone formations which have happened over the years, and a lot of people go there for stargazing, or you can go for a very good sunset as well. So you can leave Perth a little late, go to the pinnacles, do your sunset and stargazing, and come back into Perth again. But it's obviously, because you're doing stargazing and sunset, it would be slightly later that you'll come back into the city. But again, a day trip is absolutely fine to go and visit the pinnacles. Coming to the southwest region that we saw on the map, the Margaret River region, which is the wine producing region, it's about 3 hours drive from Perth, has about more than 200 wineries, but it also is home to the ocean and also the very famous caves. So the Nilgi caves are what you see in the picture, are stalactite and stalagmite cave formations that have happened over maybe thousands of years. And they take you literally underneath and underground to see these formations. Definitely a must do when you're there. Also, because Margaret River region also has the ocean with it, you have some really good accommodation options, which are at the beach facing. You can have like a nice villa, or even like a Airbnb or an accommodation option for yourself. Apart from this, when you're going from Perth into the Margaret River region, you can actually stop at Busselton Jetty. So Busselton Jetty is the oldest jetty that we have. There's a small train that takes you right to the observatory, which is 1.5 kilometers away. You can go into the observatory, go 3 floors underneath, and you can actually have a look at the corals that have formed over there. Again, you can either do it while you're going from Perth into Margaret River region, or you can do it even on your way back from Margaret River region to Perth. Coming to the next one, which is Coral Coast. Again, here, this is home to the Ningaloo Reef that I just spoke about. Of course, the driving distances are too long. So what you can do is you can take a flight from Perth into Exmouth, which is a 2-hour flight. You can stay there at the Ningaloo Reef, do your swimming with the sharks. Of course, it has a season that's from March to July. But if you're not doing the swimming with the whale sharks, you can definitely do your snorkeling, diving, and swimming with the manta rays that happens all around the year. Apart from this, Coral Coast is also home to the Pink Lake. So there's a pink lake called the Hutt Lagoon. During the course of the year, it is, of course, has a lot of colors that happen, but it could be all the shades of pink that you could see. It could be a light pink or a dark pink as well, depending on the conditions and the time of the year that you're in that particular region. The northwest is the region where you have your pinnacles. You also have the Broome and the Cable Beach. So the camels that we saw were basically at the Cable Beach, and these camels were the ones that were transported from India into Australia years back, when Australia used to be the place where convicts used to go. So of course, when the trade happened, camels were also sent from India into Australia. So these are the camels that you see at the Cable Beach and the Broome Beach. Stairway to the Moon is one phenomena that happens during the full moon, where on the beach, it's an illusion that's created. You have the full moon and you have the reflection on the water. So you actually feel like there's a staircase going on towards the moon. And last is Australia's Golden Outback. This is home to your Wave Rock, which is at Hayden. This is 2 hours away from Esperance. And also here you have, what you see in the picture is your Lucky Bay Beach. So Lucky Bay Beach is absolutely, the watercolors are brilliant. It's beautiful. The sand is white, and you will also have a few kangaroos hopping around on the beach. Absolutely safe. Just don't go very near to the kangaroo in order to not get punched by them. Next. So moving on to Northern Territory, and again a short video to just show you the region. So that's Northern Territory. As you see here, the colors of this territory change as and when you move really towards the north. So starting with the red center, which is where your Uluru or the Ayers Rock is located, along with Alice Springs. As you move up, it gets a bit orange where you have your Tennant Creek. You have Catherine, which has a lot of forests and gorge systems, so it gets a bit green. And then you have the Kakadu and the Darwin, where you have your ocean and the beaches and the capital city as well, and the Arnhem Land, which is again green in color. So it's called the top end of NT, and this place is called the Red Center, as we see in the picture. Though the other states and territories have really evolved and they have their own, cosmopolitan crowd coming into it, I think NT personally is a place which is still deeply rooted to the indigenous culture. It's also a place which actually defines what Australia is all about and the land of its people. So when you go into NT and you visit the Uluru, which is a very sacred rock formation for them, you realize what is the importance and what the land means to the indigenous people who are the original survivors of the land. Next slide, please. So starting with Darwin, which is the capital city, in Darwin you can do a nice cruise about for sunset and dinner. It's about a 2.5 hour cruise that happens. From Darwin, you can also cover the Kakadu and Catherine region and Litchfield National Park as well. So there is a domestic passenger fly plane, like a little aircraft that they have, which is called the Kookaburra Air, which does day trips into Kakadu, Catherine, and Litchfield. Since these are places which you cannot really drive and go, they are quite away. You can do like a full day trip to either of these places, either to Kakadu or to Catherine, because these are slightly away. Litchfield is about 1.5 hour away from Darwin. During the dry season, there is also the Mindle Beach Sunset Market, which takes place on Sundays and Thursdays. As you see in the picture here, in this picture and this picture, this is how the market is. It's more like a flea market that happens during the dry season and when it's not raining. Darwin is also known for a lot of waterfront dining options. So when you are in the capital city, it's important you can have like lunches and dinner at any of the waterfront restaurants. One very I think incredible and exciting adventure to do here at Darwin is the Crocosaurus Cove or the Cage of Death. What happens is, in a glass funnel, you are literally in the glass funnel and you're put down in the water where you'll have a very big crocodile swimming around you. So it sounds terrifying, but it's actually very thrilling for people who are not kind of afraid. But I think it's a once in a lifetime experience that you should do, because imagine being into a glass funnel and there's a huge crocodile just swimming around you. So NT and Darwin, like NT in particular, also has a lot of crocodiles, and there are actually trips that take you to the riverfront and they would take you to lakes wherein you have tours of crocodile sightings. So they show you, they will give them food or a bait, and you'll have crocodiles jumping right out where you're sitting on your cruise and see how they kind of grab the food. So I think if you're in Darwin, definitely do one of the activities wherein you get to see these crocodiles in action. Apart from this, there are also a lot of tours wherein the indigenous or the Aboriginal people tell you the history of the place. So dot painting is one activity. Either you do it in Darwin or you can do it in the Red Center. So if I talk about Red Center, which is where your Uluru is, your Ayers Rock, what you see in the picture, the most iconic, I think everyone when we talk about Australia has this picture in mind when they speak about it. So this is a very sacred limestone rock formation, hence you do not climb this rock. So there are multiple ways to see the Ayers Rock. You can either take a Segway tour around it, you can either take a camel ride around it, you can walk around it, or you just cycle around it. And if you want to have a panoramic view, definitely you can take a helicopter ride as well. So multiple ways to see the Ayers Rock. But again, over here, since it has a lot of indigenous impact, they have certain tours wherein you are interacting with an indigenous person who tells you the history of the place. You can have a nice 1 hour dot painting session with them. They explain the art and craft that they usually do and what is the meaning behind it. So when you are in Uluru, you can definitely get into all any of these experiences, apart from also seeing the Ayers Rock as well. Apart from the Uluru, there is also something called as the Olgas. So what you see here in these pictures, these dome-like structures. So the Olgas or the Katajuta, there are about 36 of these domes over here in this valley. Again, this can be explored either by foot or you can even take a helicopter ride over it as well. Apart from this, what do you do here? There's also the field of light that you see. It's a massive solar light installation that is there, equivalent to 11 football fields. So it's very, very big and massive, and you can actually walk around it. And there's also a beautiful dinner activity that takes place, which is called the Sounds of Silence. You can do a nice dinner which overlooks the Ayers Rock as well. Apart from this, if you are staying there for 2 to 3 nights, so one night in the evening, you can do the Field of Light. The second evening, you can do the Sounds of Silence dinner. And on the third night, you can actually do the Vinci Viru experience. So the Vinci Viru experience is where you have a drone show that takes place and it shows you different formations of the indigenous culture. And it's a 20-minute show and you can then end it with a dinner as well. Moving on slightly up is your Alice Springs. So this is literally the center of Australia. Most of the flights that you take from Brisbane or Sydney or Melbourne, they come into Alice Springs. You can either drive down to the Uluru or now they also have domestic connections directly into Uluru as well. But if you're in if you're in Alice Springs, you can do a nice hot air ballooning experience. You can visit the kangaroo sanctuary, which also has a hospital for kangaroos who are rescued and who are injured. And when you take the Ghan train journey experience from Darwin to Adelaide or from Adelaide up to Darwin, it stops at Alice Springs. So you can get down here and then you can move onwards to the Red Center and see the Ayers Rock. And right at the last is Top End, which is your northernmost part of Northern Territory, where you have your, as you see in the picture, it's absolutely green. So if you see the shading, it moves from red to orange to green. That's because the Top End has a lot of gorge and waterfall system. Hence, you see a lot of greens and blues when you're at the Top End. So either you can go to the Litchfield National Park and take a nice cruise over it from Darwin. You can also do a day trip. As mentioned, you can do even a small flight from Darwin into Kakadu, which is about 3.5 hours away. And you can also visit Catherine, which is at a similar distance of 3.5 hours away from Darwin. All of these via the flight can be done as day trips. If you want, you can drive down as well. Next, please. So this is a video which shows what a Vinci Viru experience is. So what you saw were basically indigenous formations which have meaning to it. Sorry, could you go on the previous one, please? So what you see here are basically formations which are indigenous. Every formation that happened had a meaning to it, and seeing this against the backdrop of the Uluru is a very good experience. Also, apart from this, whatever lights that you see or the formations that are happening are all via drones. So these are actually drones that are making these formations up in the air. So you could definitely offer this experience when you're there, because it's just a 20-minute experience. And also, just because we wouldn't know what the formations mean, there is also a live commentary that happens during the show, so you exactly know what the formations are and what is the significance of it. Next, please. So moving on to Tasmania, there's again a video just to show you the region in visually in a snippet. So, as the video defined in the end, if you read Come Down for Clean Air, I think Tasmania as a region literally defines what clean air and fresh air is all about. A lot of people and our team members who travel to Tasmania tell us that, the moment you step into that region or that state, the first thing you do is take a deep breath because the air there is so different. It's untouched, it's pure. It just kind of, I think, cleanses our lungs if you're there in Tasmania. So, starting off with the regions and offerings that it has, Hobart is the capital city of Tasmania. Tasmania as a region is also known for self drive. So, a lot of people take like a nice 5, 6 nighter, a car for themselves, and do the whole of Tasmania, covering Hobart, Launceston, and you also go to the Grindelwald Valley that you have over there. So, I think it's a more of a self drive destination. But again, since the markets are evolving, a lot of I'm sure there are options wherein you can actually take a day trip or take a coach trip or just hop on to any of the offerings that Turtle Down Under might have, and then you do like a day trip to all these places. But Hobart is your capital city where you can land into, if you're flying down into Tasmania. From Hobart you can do a nice day trip to Bruny Island. Bruny Island has a lot of wildlife and gourmet food. So if you have liking for seafood and fresh seafood, wherein you have the fresh catch of the day and then you just cook up a nice lunch over there for you at Bruny Island, I think it's a great experience. And most of the people take a day trip into Bruny Island. Apart from this, you visit the Port Arthur. Again, this is a convict jail that was built back in the day, so it has a lot of history attached to it. And the tour of the Port Arthur is supposed to be very insightful, so as to how the convicts were kept, and they have still maintained some of the rooms exactly the way it used to be in the earlier days. Apart from this, you can also visit the Saturday street market at Salamanca district. This happens only on a Saturday, so if you have clients in Hobart on Saturday, definitely ask them to visit these local markets that happen at the Salamanca. Apart from this, visit the very famous Mona Museum, which is Museum of Old and New Art. It has a lot of quirky stuff. So it's not your normal museum, which would have paintings and stuff. It has installations, it has paintings, but all of them are very quirky and funny, and the history behind it and the story behind it. So it's even for people who are not into the whole art and culture scene, would really like to visit Mona because of the offerings that it has. You can take a nice scenic flight from Hobart into Wineglass Bay. So you actually have, since people who are press of time and do not want to drive all the way to the Wineglass Bay, you can take a scenic flight to the Wineglass Bay, get down at the bay, do a nice 4 hour cruise, and then you can come into Hobart again. Again, this will be like a whole day trip from morning till evening that you can do. Apart from Wineglass Bay, you can also take a flight to Strahan. So Strahan, you go, you take a nice cruise over the Gordon River, and then you come back into Hobart again. These are slightly longer trips. So if you leave Hobart in the morning, please be prepared to come back only by late evening back into the city again. When we talk about the East Coast, if you have clients who are doing a drive or who are staying there at their own pace and not in a hurry, can definitely drive from Hobart into the East Coast, where they can see the Wineglass Bay and do the Bays of Fire as well. So what you see in the picture above is the Bays of Fire. During sunset, it literally turns orange, these rock formations. So you actually feel that there's like a fire happening over there. So the whole picture kind of changes during sunset. You can do a hike to the Wineglass Bay as well to see how the entire bay is shaped in form of a wine glass, and hence the name comes from that. You can also stay at the Frasine National Park, which is home to one of the luxury lodges as well, if you're staying at the East Coast. Apart from this, since Tasmania is known for its seafood, you can have a nice oyster shucking experience when you are at the East Coast. Moving on to another famous city, which is Launceston in North Tasmania, you can honestly, if you're in Tasmania, just give yourself some time to relax and soak into the whole experiences. But you also got to do a lot of other stuff which the place is famous for. So when you're in Launceston, apart from eating a lot of fresh seafood and produce and visiting vineyards, you can actually visit the Tamar Valley, which is home to the Grindelwald village. It'll give you a very European feel, and it's a nice destination in its own, Tamar Valley, where you can stay at this village. So you can have like your food, wine experiences over there whilst you're there, and visit the Cradle Mountain when you are in Launceston. Moving on to the west coast, which is about you can do like a nice 6-day drive also when you are in west coast. This is the place which is home to Strahan that we spoke about, where you fly from Hobart into Strahan. But if you're doing a self drive, definitely do like a nice week-long self drive. Come into Strahan. You can do your scenic flights. You can do the Gordon River cruise whilst you're here, and you can also visit some old mining sites and towns as well. Again, West Coast is known for its seafood, so please keep on the gastronomy tour that you have when you're in Tasmania when it comes to fresh seafood. And last is Northwest, which is home to Cradle Mountain and Lake St. Clair. Here is where you have a tour to see the Tassie devil. So the little animal that you saw, which looks like a rat, is basically a Tasmanian devil. It looks very small, it's very cute, but it's got really sharp teeth and it's carnivorous. So you need to keep your distance when you're seeing them. But Cradle Mountain is one place where you can actually do Devils at Cradle tour and see these little, animals in action. Apart from this, from Northwest, even Devonport, Stanley, and Burnie are some places you can kind of explore on your own where you're in the Northwest region of Tasmania. Next, please. So some more video, to kind of transport you all into Tasmania. Since we can't physically be there, let's just virtually visit this place. So that's more inspiration for all of us to sell Tasmania and also visit. So before I close for today and hand it over to Mayur back, I would like to speak about the program that we have, which is the Aussie Specialist Program. Next slide, please. So if you're not an Aussie specialist, highly encourage you all to register on the website, which is www.aussiespecialist.com. And you can register yourself, become a qualified Aussie specialist, and get to know more about all the destinations that we spoke about today in depth as well. Next one. Yeah, so these are some of the benefits of becoming an Aussie specialist. One is it gives you more destination knowledge. Of course, you can be a part of these webinars that we do with Turtle Down Under as well, because it just kind of gives you an edge when you have to sell Australia as a destination, and especially the regions and the states that we covered today. Next. Yeah, thank you. I'll hand it over to Mayur now, and we can do a Q&A. or I'm sorry, you'll have to sorry, Mayur, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ushma. It was like a great presentation. Me myself have learned so many things about the islands, the Adelaide, Tasmania, and everything. So I'll just take it forward and give some details about what is TDU, why is TDU. So at TDU, Turtle Down Under is a leading destination management company with over 10 years of experience in Australia and New Zealand, specializing in FITs, group travels, MICE, and event management. Next slide. So why Turtle Down Under? So first of all, we are in this business for 10 plus years, dealing with an inbound travelers. We have a Qualmark in New Zealand and ATEC in Australia. We have a good network partner, which is 10,000 plus travel agents and 5,000 plus suppliers, enabling preferred inbound rates. That we have a dedicated post-sales team so that your client is being supported 24 into 7 on ground by our team, and it's a rapid issue resolutions and everything. Large scale event expertise. So we have been handling bigger events across for the different corporate clients. We are industry connector, so we are doing monthly webinars and engaging 200 plus travel agents, suppliers, and tourism boards. Our operation is AI enabled. We have a trade trust and market sense, so we have a strong presence at the major travel expos across the Indian subcontinents and the Southeast Asia. Next slide. So our product range. So we do FIT and group solutions. We do MICE and event management. We have accommodations which are pre-booked, pre-purchase rates. We have tours. We deal in tour attractions and experience, scenic and multi-day journeys, local guides and ground services. We have a contract with dinings and good restaurants, transport and transfers. We have exclusive TDU deals, and we have some seasonal and limited time travel experience, which is called as a TDU specials. Next slide, please. So our client base is in India, Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, and Philippines. Next slide. This is where our TDU team is based. So we are based in the previous slide. So our TDU team is based in India, Malaysia, Philippines, Australia, New Zealand, and Malaysia, and Singapore. Thank you. Next slide. So this is we have launched the Best of Australia, which is a group departures. We have launched the three group departures. For one is for the month of March, and two are for the month of April. So departure dates are mentioned on the screen. So for further itineraries and everything, you can just email us, and can send you the full detail itinerary about the group departure. Next slide, please. So these are our contacts. Whoever wish to contact us, the contact details are on the screen. For any of the FIT queries, you can email us on the sales email ID. Any group or any Asia queries, you can email on the email IDs which are mentioned on the screen. We shall now take a question and answer round. Whatever question and answers are there, you can put down in the chat box and we can answer them accordingly.
I think there are some in the Q&A box. So
Yes.
I'll answer the first one. It says, is swimming with a whale shark suitable for first timers? So yeah, it's absolutely fine. If you are not a strong swimmer, you can always tell Turtle Down Under that the client is not a strong swimmer. They would then have somebody who will be with you to assist you whilst you're doing that particular experience. So absolutely okay for a first timer to do swimming with the whale sharks. Second is with regards to the Indian driving license. So I'm sorry, I know that we have people from other countries as well. But in terms of self-drive, this is a standard rule wherein you need to have your international driving license, but it needs to be in English if you're hiring a car in Australia. And I think which part of Australia do you think is the most selling to sell? Well, I think Mayur, you could take that one.
So all the parts of Australia have been high selling. Even the East Coast, West Coast, Tasmania, everything is must visit place in Australia.
Yeah, I think apart from there's somebody who's asked for a 4-day itinerary, I think you all would be the best guys to suggest in terms of accommodation and budgeting as well. So you can get in touch directly with Mayur, and I think the team will be able to help you out.
Yes.
Yeah. Any other questions that you see?
Uh, no, I think so. No. We should allow 2 minutes if there are any other questions for
Yeah.
if
So
someone
I
can
think
ask.
for somebody's asked
If
for
someone also.
honeymooners. So honeymooners itinerary, I think it depends on where the client wants to go, because all of the states particularly have some experience or some activity which is very honeymoon specific. So I think again TDU will be the best people to chalk out a nice itinerary around honeymoon and get back to you with the costing and accommodation options as well. I think to cover the whole of Australia, it depends on how many days you have. We have agents and clients and TDU doing itineraries for maybe 30 days, 40 days as well. So it all depends on how much time and budget and bandwidth the client has. Yeah, I think that's about it. I've answered pretty much. In terms
Oh,
of pure
oh
veg,
yeah.
just to,
So
yeah.
no, that's
If
okay.
you
You
want
can
to take
carry.
that
Go
one.
ahead.
No, so pure veg, in terms of pure veg, all of the states and places that we saw today, most of them have Indian restaurants present. Tasmania would be one place wherein Hobart would definitely have an Indian restaurant. A very few, but they would definitely have. And in terms of the remoter places like a Gordon or a Launceston, they would not have a pure veg restaurant, but they would definitely cater to like a global vegetarian cuisine. So they're absolutely aware about vegetarian food and being vegan. So I think that's not a problem in Australia as well.
Oh.
Mayur, could you share
So, but
your
this,
contact? I think somebody needs the contact
yeah,
details.
there's one question. How long does it takes to get an Australian visa? So you can answer that.
Uh, Maisha would like to take that one. Yeah.
Okay, so visa per se, I would say, first of all, before how long it takes, I would like to highlight the fact and be very proud about the fact that it's a relatively very easy process. It may take roughly about 10-15 days to about 4 weeks. But my live example, I got my visa in 5 days. I know people who got their visa in three
Hmm.
days, and I've also known people
3 days.
who got visa in 3 weeks, right? But that not being the most important criteria, I think there are two things that go parallel when you're considering a destination, and Australia has a upper hand is because your process of applying for the visa, the whole ease of everything being online, you don't have to do any physical submissions, you don't need biometrics, you put all your documents online and then you're done for it. You don't need hotel confirmation. So I think that's a very strong plus point. Some cases, I will agree that it may be daunting on a customer to consider a 3 week window. But as a selling point, I think we should then be more proud of the fact that the process is very simple, and camouflage the time taken. And of course, like I said, I was very very happy to know that my visa came in less than 5 working days. So applied on Monday, and Thursday morning I had my visa in my email. So it ranges, but I think as a selling point, do emphasize on how easy the whole application process is, if that helps in understanding how Australia visa works.
There's one more question regarding the visas. If someone has a US visa, will a visa be required? Will an Australian visa be required?
Yes, visa is required. We do not have that kind of a consideration. What I can say is it makes the case stronger. So ideally, what you need to understand while making a visa application for Australia is you make your case stronger. You give them enough reasons for your return to India. And if you are well traveled, you have other countries' visas like US, UK, Schengen. It just makes your case stronger. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's
So,
one question, Mayur, more relevant to you, but the second part is for me. What are the payment terms for INR payment?
the answer that question. So we accept the payments via remittance to our Australian bank account, and we also accept the payments via credit card.
Okay, and I think the second part of this question about female Indians being safer in Australia, I think it's a very
Yes.
tricky one. Every country and every region has its own way of portraying this, but from my personal experience, it's absolutely safe. In spite of being there multiple times and venturing out, even like at night, it's absolutely safe in terms of solo female traveling as well. Yeah, I think we've answered almost all the questions. If there's anything else, you can always reach out to Mayur in terms of your
Yes.
codes, and you can reach out to us in terms of anything regarding the destination. And we have more webinars, as Mayur mentioned, with Turtle Down Under, covering various topics. So we look forward to those in the coming months.
Yes, correct. So, thank you so much for joining us today. That brings to the end of the close of this particular webinar. So, thank you so much, Maisha and Ushma, for joining us and taking your time out and giving for this webinar. And Tourism Australia have been, you can say, a good connect with Turtle Down Under every time we require, and they are there to support us and to the agents as well. So, thank you so much. And regarding this webinar recording and every materials will be sent to you in the email later on. Just thank you so much for joining us today.
I'll
Thank
just
you.
leave with this one. Say goodbye. They say catch you later. So we
Yeah,
won't say goodbye, but we will say catch you later for the other upcoming webinars.
correct. Yes. Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you so much,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.